Today's presentation of Booksellsers Book Clubs. This is a new product for this year. I'm very excited to share it with you. Let's get started. So today's presentation, much like last presentation, I'm going to share with you the why, the what, and the how of our book clubs. So why do we have these book clubs? First and foremost, just like our comprehensive read alouds, our goal is to support the 3 pillars of dual language. We support those 3 pillars with resources, with books. Our goal is to provide a diverse collection of books that are not already in the market, and so that there are more books.
Heather, are you saying we are the only source? So these books, we are the sole source of these books?
I certainly am. Yep.
All right.
So these book collections, we are sole source in 2 ways, Uriel. We're sole source in terms of the titles themselves, as well as the collections and the composition of the collections.
Okay,
themselves.
Great.
Yep, which is very exciting. And I'll go into a little bit more about the structures and how we think about books. So another reason for the why is our goal is to support what has been called balanced literacy. If you haven't read the latest Fountas and Pinnell response to the science of reading and thinking about the science of reading, our goal is to support the comprehensive reader. We want to make sure that our collections of books support fully what it means to become a reader and a child in a dual language program reader through from kindergarten through high school. And yes, Nancy, we are working on that pre-K set for you too. So in that model, we know that the gradual release of responsibility is key, because we want students to really be able to be readers on their own. So the first collection I shared with you is the lesson, I Do It. So that's with teacher being led, that comprehensive read aloud collection, as well as we have our core Booksellsers collection in print and digital. And those core Booksellsers collections in print and digital are sole source. And then there is the guided instruction. Booksellsers currently at this point does not have a guided instruction collection. It is unlikely that would come anytime soon. I know that all of you work with some amazing companies that have worked very hard, diligently, thoughtfully to create guided reading collections, and as well as they support them with assessments. At this time, it's not something that we're really interested in creating, because we really enjoy working with our publishers in Latin America, and the reading levels and standards in Latin America are very different from those in the United States. So we want to, so at this time, we're leaving that space there for it to be held by other companies that all of you work with that are able to provide a comprehensive product.
Heather, I love this slide. Is there a way we could have a picture or something, this visual representation? This whole presentation is shared with you in the shared drive, but I'll make sure to send it out to all of you in an email so that you got the link. As I know, it's like searching for a needle in a haystack in our Google Drives. Yeah, this is it's just so fun to have these amazing logos to add to this slide. I don't know if you noticed in the bottom left corner, this slide is borrowed from my friends at the Department of Public Instruction in Wisconsin. Shout out. But I'm so excited today that we can share the book clubs, because it really addresses collaborative literacy learning and doing it together as a group. One of my most favorite things about books is talking with kids about books, but even more amazing about it is listening to kids talk about books with each other. And that kind of recommendation or that kind of excitement is just infectious, and that's exactly what we want to make sure that our students are feeling. So today,
one of the things, Heather, that people have talked about in the past is that reading is a very social event. I mean, when you read something interesting, whether a paragraph, a newspaper article, or a book, the initial thing that you want to do is talk about it with somebody. And that's why you know, everything here from the comprehensive read aloud to the book club to the classroom libraries, it's that whole idea of really looking at reading as being a very social, you know, a social event. And again, that, as you said, the gradual release responsibility really does that, but it's about that language and talking about that.
Bert, I love that you said that because, you know, that is the culture that I grew up in. And so for me, like, that was just like the culture that I created in my classroom. It was just normal. Even to this day, I love it when my mom's like, oh, I just read How to Be an Anti-Racist. And, you know, and I'm just like, okay, mom, like, your reading is amazing. Like, but the fact that my, you know, like, that's the norm of my conversation, and that I can continue to support teachers to do that in the classrooms. And that's why we want to make sure we have this large, diverse collection of books. So, and honestly, the fact that it is social is so important to us, and us being in under this pandemic that we have going on, you know, now and in the previous year. It's really important that we continue to capture that in our spaces that are shared spaces like classrooms. So book clubs are collaborative, and if you'll notice too, they are not teacher directed. So that does mean that we don't need necessarily, we're not going to do them all the time in the classroom. Book clubs aren't going to happen all the time. And as well as we want to make sure that our students are prepared to be able to have these discussions. I will, in 2 weeks on Wednesday, I'll go over the classroom libraries and I'll share those with you. But for now, I'm going to move on. So I talked about this last time. I'm going to talk about it every time because at Bookstall Sir, equity is an issue for us. And equity is one of the foundations of our work and the missions of our work. This is that, you know, very ugly photo of the 4th grade dual language classroom I worked in, and how the shelves on the left, those 3 shelves were English books, and then the 1 shelf on the right was the Spanish books. It was a 50-50 model. So in a 50-50 language allocation model, we should have equal resource allocation. And that's something that we really want to emphasize to the people that we're working with and our customers, to make sure that that 50-50 resource allocation is equitable to the language allocation. And that goes without saying that we also want to think about that resource allocation in kinder on up, when some of our programs are not 50-50, they're 90-10. So if the language allocation in kindergarten is 90% Spanish, 10% English, our resources in the classroom should look that way as well, which is huge. That's a huge point. And I think that is, you know, something that we really need to work on in our programming. So, and then also something important to us is that we make sure that we have Spanish children's literature that addresses students and who students are and their sociocultural identity, as well as their sociocultural competency that they're continuing to grow. So we look at Spanish children's literature in 3 ways. We look at it as books that are translated into Spanish, and most commonly from English. We do have some that are translated from other languages like Korean, Finnish, for example. But the books translated from English are also really important because they represent narratives of people in the United States. And as I've talked about before, they represent oftentimes children of color in ways that no one else can really do. So in this collection, we do not have books that are translated, nor do we have the bilingual books. In this collection, it is not a comprehensive book club, it's a core Bookstall Sir book club. So we just have books that are written in Spanish, in the red here, written by authors outside of the United States.
Wow, they're beautiful.
So
I have a question, Heather. For the first one, yeah, I have a question.
Yep.
So the first books translated from English, are these, I know translated books is a bad word in my territory. I'm sure it's in other people's territory. Have these been adapted to English? Should we be using the transadapted term instead of just translated? What can you tell me?
Yeah, Uriel, it's a really great question. It's a really hot topic. And I think the best way to address this question is people hold on. The complaint about translations is not as much in literature as it is in books that we use in the educational setting. So often our guided reading books, and oftentimes guided reading books are used for read alouds, right? So that's where trans-adapted is really critical, is when we're talking about reading levels specifically. And so that's just one type of book. With literature books like these, Soñadores, let's just take that one, for example.
Okay.
It's written by Yuyi Morales. Yuyi Morales identifies as a Mexican American. Yuyi is very astute to the fact of, like, she wants her books to be culturally competent. So, and actually, and not to say that some authors don't, all authors do, but these types of books are published by publishing houses that specialize in literature. So their translations are thoughtful, their translations are fully vetted, and they're very high quality. So the language that you use to your customers, I mean, you know your audience, you know how to fill it out. But what I want you to ensure them is that this is literature. These are books that are published by people that specialize in spreading the love of language and spreading the love of reading.
And I think, we fully understand that. I think where we want to be careful is when we're marketing and using the word translated books, because I understand that, and I could pick up a book and I could look at it and say it's beautiful, and the author did a wonderful job of really showcasing, what he or she wanted to say in their books. But I think with marketing purposes, our folks in El Paso, Las Cruces, right near the border, where the word translation has meant for many years someone translating the newsletter that's going to parents from English to Spanish or vice versa, and it's all chopped up because it was someone who didn't have the background to do it. And I think for marketing purposes, maybe we could possibly modify where we need to.
Yeah, good point.
I'm right with him, and that word translated. Even if we decide to keep that word, I think having some words around that, high quality, because again, because I think for certainly here in Illinois, when we see that word, people think it's word by word.
Yeah,
we just change that word and sentence structure is out the window. Yeah, and I know that's not what we're doing, but we can't fight against what the misunderstanding is about that. So again, I would vote for the trans-adapted because that's very clear. If we can't come to that conclusion, then something about high quality, but just that word translated by itself would be an issue for me and our people if we're not right there with them explaining that, because that is a bad word. It is a bad word. Sorry.
No, it's okay. How lucky am I that we get to have this conversation? So something that is a little problematic is that these books are not translated by us. So we don't oversee the translation, right? So because they are published and we distribute books from many other publishers. However, it is literature. So, and
it's going through the process of someone in-house reading them,
Yeah,
Heather, I think we're all.
So we're good with that. We're happy. We know it's going to be quality. We just want to make sure that whenever, someone gets a marketing piece, if it's a dual language teacher, that they are not just, oh, it's just translated. Let's keep on moving. I don't want that to happen.
Yep. Uh-oh, Kevin's on.
I just, everything that Woody was saying, I'm in complete agreement with. And I think, Heather, we're not asking you to change the what that you're doing.
Yep.
Just the marketing message. And so I think we're asking you to put away the Girl Scout cookies and just do a little salesy, marketing of, we know what it is. We just need to be able to present it to the customer in a little bit of a different light. That's all we're saying.
Yep. I hear you guys. You know me and bullshit. I'm like, but I understand what you're saying. So I would love to share with you some other examples and then get your feedback.
Okay.
I'm good? Noted. I'm gonna put Caitlin on that one. Okay, so, but just to be clear, before we move on, so the book club collections are just our sole source. So they're just books written in Spanish by authors outside of the United States. That's what's in our book club collection. We're clear on that?
Love 'em.